I'm going to call the meeting to order. Everybody rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, any public to be heard? No. All right, we got some good news. I am totally not ready. All right, so good news from the high school. Cheryl Kovalik. Excellent job to Karen Wood, all of the cast members, and anyone who assisted with the production of Footloose. I'm kind of disappointed I didn't get to see it. Unfortunately, I was out of town, but I heard it was a great show. Next up, from the middle school, from Kristen Smith. In January, we started a Connected Crack Club for students who demonstrate ways they help others feel connected in our school community. Each month, we honor a minimum of 8 elected students on our announcements. Those students choose a gibbet to put in their cracks. Students can be elected multiple times. From John Kennedy, Heather McCarthy. JK had a successful Leap into Literacy event for families. A huge thank you to our shared decision-making team and all of the event volunteers. And there is a lot of good news to share. Unfortunately, we have a very lengthy meeting tonight, so please, if you have the opportunity, get online and take a look at it all. Let's see here. Next up, it's me again. Tonight, we have the privilege of honoring a student athlete that has worked his life to do something very special. And I've known Casper Stewart since he was probably yay high. And it was an honor watching him grow up and do the things he did. So this is a certificate of achievement. The certificate is proudly presented to Casper Stewart, New York State Public High School Athletic Association Division II state champion at 145 pounds. Casper, congratulations, come on.
Let me get a picture, John and Casper. That's good. Casper, you're so humble. That's what we all like about you. That's congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
First and so far only, with many more state champions to come from Batavia. So congratulations again, Casper. Absolutely.
When you travel around Western New York, you see many times, you see entrances into their cities where they have designated specific athletes. Do we need to petition the city to ask them to
That
put one
is
up
a
for-
good question. I don't know, I can find out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great
I
idea.
think
It's a
we
good
should
idea.
do that for Casper.
Absolutely.
Because we had that for some of our football
Yeah,
teams,
there's a couple
91
state
football
teams
teams.
there.
Yeah, we had it
Yep,
at one point and
absolutely.
it kind of dropped off. a little bit.
Batavia and Notre Dame state titles are on the
Yeah,
entry bill.
Yeah, I can, I'll talk to the city about that. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, next up is Mr. Smith.
So I have a special presentation. I asked her to walk in and walk out, but she decided. Talia Green, come on up. And Ms. Lagarde is going to join me. I'm pleased to present this early diploma to Talia Green, member of the class of 2024, who's graduating early, has worked especially hard. I just would like to say well done and congratulations. And Kelly's going to brag about you for a little bit, okay?
So, Celia started high school during the pandemic, so during our online year, so not an easy 4 years for any of our seniors. And last year at this time, you know, I'll be candid and say we were a little worried about, you know, how Celia was doing in school. I mean, your dad knows if it, you know, whether she was coming to school enough, whether we were going to get her across the stage on time. Last May, Talia wrote me an email and said, can we please talk about me graduating early? And I said, come in and we'll talk. So we made a plan for her to go. Part of that plan included attending full-time summer school to take Social Studies 12, all on her own. She came in and did it. She did everything she needed to do over the summer, and she came in this fall and just rocked it and got everything done. So and she went from being on my seniors I'm concerned about to seniors who are graduating early, and I'm very proud of her. So
Yeah,
congratulations, Talia.
You have a very special treat today, because you have two principals here tonight that I that I know you. Mr. Kessler knows you, and Ms. Webster knows you. We haven't even practiced this, but I know they're going to say something about you as well. So, Mr. Kessler, you want to go first?
Yeah, well, I've known you since you were little.
Yeah.
Just really proud of you and proud of the decision that you made to say, hey, I want my diploma. And to, because I've had other students that have said that and then didn't follow through on the plan that the counselor made with them. So I really, really appreciate that mindset, and I'm just so excited for you today.
Thank you.
Ms. West?
And Talia, I'm brand new, as you know, and I was just so excited to hear your story. So to be a student who was in maybe jeopardy and just people were worried, and then to just say, I got this, I'm gonna dig in, and then you actually did it. So excited. And I know that also Miss Kay came really quickly because she loved you so much.
I do, I love you, and congratulations. I had the honor of teaching Talia in 5th grade and then move up to the high school and as her assistant principal. And I just love your big heart. You're just a wonderful ray of sunshine, and I can't wait for you to share that with the rest of the universe. Congratulations.
Can you do a picture, Talia? Congratulations.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So, all right, so.
Oh, and Mr. Stewart. Let's see. I'd be in trouble and I'd be wanting to kick myself in the behind if I didn't recognize Coach Stewart. This was his last year of coaching here. 25 years, am I right, Greg? Yes. Thank you very much for all your service and everything you've done for my son and the rest of the community. Thank you. Now, if you guys want to scoot out.
Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations, Casper and Rick. Thanks.
Casper, make us proud at West Point. All right, next up for Mr. Kessler and Coach Young program.
Okay.
So now the spotlight's on you.
Okay. All right. Here we go. All right, come on up, Heather. All right, well, good evening, everyone. And we have our John Kennedy update presentation. We might have a couple different slides than you have in your packet, just because we just updated a couple things over the last couple days. But really appreciate you giving us the time tonight. So this was fun for me. I think one of the things that I'm thankful for in my career is that, I've had eight-year-olds and 18-year-olds, and just seeing how exciting that is. So, all right, so let's see if this is a little advance for me here. You do it? All right.
I got you.
All right, so we'll start with our mission and vision. This actually started last year. The John Kennedy team worked on making sure that we had a clear mission and vision, and then as a district, we've been working on the professional learning community's work. And so it kind of caused us to look a little bit differently at the mission and vision, particularly in the area of like which students that we're going to say are going to achieve the standard at a high level. And so the use of the term all was really important and defined by any student that we're planning on living an independent adult life. And so as we frame our work and we're thinking about all, that really kind of says, well, this standard's okay for this group, but not okay for this other group. And so that was really important as we framed our work this year. All right, so this is familiar to you. This is the district goals, and so we've aligned our goals to these, so we'll kind of reference these as we go through. All right, and this is just some pictures for you to enjoy, but Heather and I like to, when we debrief, say that Disney's really got nothing on us, that we really feel like John Kennedy is the happiest place on earth. And, you know, we see it like every morning at breakfast, like some kid is just like hanging on our waist, giving us a hug, and, you know, it's just really a special place to be. All right, so we've been working off the theme Challenge Accepted this year, all right, and Mr. Madhu's here, he knows all about it, and so Heather and I are really working on, off of some themes that John Kennedy's been working on for a couple of years, and, you know, that is really having students develop that intrinsic work ethic, that they really say, like, I'm not going to give up when something's hard, and so Gritty is like a theme that was used last year. Challenge Accepted is something that we're using this year, and the teachers are really embracing it too. So, getting kids to, you know, not give up at the first sign of adversity, I think will serve them well all the way through high school. And so this is a picture of Heather and I. The parent group allowed us to do a Challenge Accepted contest where teachers could nominate their kids that took on a challenge. We drew some names, and these are our winners. So they got to go out to lunch with Heather and I, and then they got to go to Walmart with us for a $100 shopping spree, and that was a lot of fun watching them. And so this is probably one of the highlights of our year for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah, they were so
and they got to choose things that would help strengthen their brain or their body. So
yes.
No electronics.
We said no electronics, but you could choose anything else.
Books, basketballs. It was really fun.
Yeah. All right. So our first goal that these are part of my own personal goals, Heather's goals, but also our shared decision-making team. So we actually did a review with our shared decision-making team on our four goals, and had them evaluate how we think we're doing toward them too. So, so we want the spread to be staff-wide. So one of the things that we're working on this year is deciding which Tier 1, first ELA curriculum we're going to use. And so we were looking at Wit and Wisdom and Wonders, both really good, well-vetted programs. We're going to go with Wit and Wisdom, which also makes a lot of sense because Jackson is using Wit and Wisdom, and 5th grade is also going to be going with it, so a real vertical piece. And the student writing that we're seeing coming out of it is really, really exciting. Mm-hmm. I'm seeing 2nd grade writing that look like what I used to see in 3rd grade, and so we're really excited about that. I mentioned our PLC work, so identifying priority standards. So like in ELA and math, you know, there's something between 60 and 70 standards. It's really impossible to teach all of those to any depth. And so we have been working with our teachers to develop what are our priority standards that we're really going to focus on and do well. Some of the smaller standards will apply toward the bigger ones, but that's been part of our work there too. And then utilizing our grade level meetings to ensure consistent curriculum implementation. And then we're really excited that our special area teachers are all working across the same theme. So for example, right now we're doing a lot of work on the eclipse. PE has got games around the eclipse. Our STEAM program is doing science concepts around them. Frankly, our students know more about the eclipse than I do.
Yes. Yes. Music class, they made up a rap that they're going to perform at the family meeting on Thursday.
Yes.
Art, they're making all these beautiful artistic pieces, so it's very nice and all-encompassing.
Right. And I hear that there's going to be a special guest at this meeting. Jenny, the eclipse mascot, will be at our meeting on Thursday. Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see who ends up doing that. All right, this is just an example of what I was talking about with the standards. So they're all laid out here. And the teachers worked together to determine what was essential, what might be nice to know, and we're going to give some exposure to, and then like the middle concept of like a supporting standard to the essentials. So this is some of the work that we've been doing with our teachers. All right, and then this we did on our last superintendent's conference day. So the teachers, as they decided which standard they thought were the most important, they had colored Post-it notes that they could put up here. So that helped us with the prioritization process.
So it was vertically aligned, but then we were able to align it horizontally as well.
All right, so goal 2 is that 15% of JK students will grow more than a full year in their ELA and math iReady assessments. So iReady is given at the beginning, middle, and end of the year. One of the things that we like about the iReady assessment is our experiences. The results on the iReady assessment are very, very close to what we'll see on the math and ELA assessments. So it's a good gauge for us. You know, and we definitely like work that challenge accepted theme when we're going through there. So, you know, and it's nice for students because, you know, we're able to honor students that may have like come in, you know, a year and a half below, right? And they close the gap to get to a year below. It will show that too, and so that we're able to acknowledge them as well. So a couple of particular like curricular areas of focus is our second grade math. That cohort has some growth to go in terms of that, but we're seeing really nice progress there. And then our third grade ELA. So those are things that we're monitoring pretty closely that way. All right, I think you can go to the next slide. All right, so speaking of monitoring, this fun chart right here is actually our data sheet. So, Antonio, I like having you here because he knows exactly what this is. So when we meet monthly with each teacher, this sheet is sitting up there on the board. And, you know, the teachers actually come ready to share with us and say, all right, this is what the students did on the Unit 6 assessment. You know, I think this student needs to take it again. I think this is what needs to be retaught. So really, like, student performance gains really comes at the level of each teacher knowing exactly what their students did and being able to talk about a plan on what they're going to do for it. So, and I'm just really proud of, you know, while Heather and I run the meetings, like the teacher just comes prepared and we can kind of just sit back and they start sharing with us what they're doing with the students. So I'm really, really proud of the work that the staff's doing there. All right, so goal 3 is our tier 2 and 3 interventions. So tier 1 is hitting everybody, all right? Tier 2 is hitting the students that aren't quite getting it, and tier 3 is the students that we put some supports in but need even more. And so Heather in particular has been working with our team on some of these things, so she's going to kind of take our next couple slides.
Yeah. So Mr. Kessler talked about tier 1 being what every child is exposed to. So tier 2 and 3 are the interventions that are provided to students in math or in ELA. Maybe those students aren't making the same progress as the rest of their peers. So instead of just saying, okay, go ahead, you can fall right through, we try to tailor instruction to them. One big payoff to that was, we think, our scores the last year in both reading and in math, which we know you've seen before, but it's really nice to see just the true payoff, because it was such a team effort and a team, the whole team came together. So for reading, for math, we were 70% in grade 4 and 67% in grade 3. So out of the 16 local districts or small cities, we were number 1 in both. And we were in number 1 in both for ELA too. So that's grades 3 and 4, students who scored a 3 or 4 on the test. So we're now using that kind of as our benchmark and trying to keep that going. With that comes not only the tier 1 instruction that we talked about, but really making sure that during those data meetings Mr. Kessler talked about, the teachers are identifying students who might be struggling and then saying, okay, what more can we do to help them? The reading teachers, the reading coach, the math teachers, the math coach, we all constantly look at data, constantly change groupings around, just to make sure that the students are getting exactly what they need. So it's very differentiated and very targeted. One thing I did want to bring up was in reading, we started something new. It's very aligned with what Jackson's doing. It's called the M class, and it is, it absolutely gets down to the phonics and the reading skills that each student needs, and then they're grouped by that. So it's a lovely way of looking at the data and then meeting the students' needs. Anything more?
Sure. One thing that I've used this book for probably 10 years. So it's a really great book by Todd Whitaker that really just orients our teachers in not what an okay teacher does, but what a great teacher does. So we have, actually some of the teachers that I had already been through this book from when I was at John Kennedy 6 or 7 years ago. But because I had been gone for a while, we took a lot of teachers through it. So we had 6 teachers that met with me in the morning once a month for it, and then another 13 that met with me after school once a month, and it was really great to talk through it. You know, some of the ideas around that is like that great teachers have high expectations for their students, but have even higher expectations for themselves. And so I think it's really important for staff, especially new staff, to be oriented in that. Is like anything that we're going to expect from our students, we've got to even expect more from ourselves. So, and frankly, it's just fun for me to meet with new teachers and talk through it with a book study with them. So
that was nice too, because it wasn't just brand new teachers. There were veteran teachers that joined.
Yeah, we had our coaches were there. We had teachers 10 years in, and then almost all of our teachers that are in their first and second year were in one session or the other. Yeah. All right.
So along with meeting the students where they're at academically, we also have a lot of emphasis on doing this socially, emotionally, and behaviorally. So a couple of the highlights that we'd like to talk about. One is our SEL committee, and with that, it's our CAPS team. So the SEL committee is comprised of a bunch of different teachers, a bunch of different service providers as well, counselors, administration. They not only plan fun events focused on SEL for the school, but also outside of school. So they're planning our monthly peace circles. They're planning our after-school family SEL night that we recently had. We have the counselors also who are meeting with students constantly and just carrying over the themes that we are talking about in our SEL meetings. And then once a month we also have a family meeting. It's called a JK family meeting, and it's a big assembly where we all come together, review everything that we've learned in SEL, and then have a little fun too with like dance contests and games and things like that. MTSS is something that we've talked about before the last couple of years. So it stands for Multi-Tiered Systems of Support. And again, that is us meeting the students where they're at, whether it's academically, socially, behaviorally. We're literally sitting at the table as a group, parents, teachers, administration, counselors, nurse, social worker, and we go through everything to see how we can better support the student so that they can make more academic progress, or so that they can make more friends, or just feel more confident in themselves. So it really ends up being kind of a strategic, individualized plan for these students, and goals are set, and then we meet every 6 to 8 weeks for these students. And this is something that's district-wide, but we're really proud of the way that we do it at JK. We also have you'll see some pictures here, so that's a picture of our family meeting on the right, our monthly assemblies, and then we do a ton of other stuff just to make the students realize that their impact goes beyond the school. So we had our Thanksgiving drive again this year. We did a Christmas Golisano toy drive that helped the students in Rochester at Golisano Hospital. So just allowing them to understand, to go back to that mission that we have, that it's bigger than just JK and it's bigger than just Batavia. You can have an impact everywhere.
All right, and I just wanted to highlight, one of our district goals that we met this summer on is how do we meet the students' needs, and one of the bigger things that came out of that is, students having trouble regulating emotionally if hit with a crisis, and And so our team actually did some work on some different ideas that they had, and came up with the idea that we would have embedded professional development with our counseling staff, with our social worker, that we would take 10 to 15 minutes at each of the grade level meetings to work on a concept of, a scenario where, a kid is shut down, and, what are some good strategies in de-escalating that, and also when a staff member gets in the conflict cycle, how that can escalate the behavior too. And so that's just been really, really special for me to watch. We've also been able to replicate that. I meet with the teacher aides once a month, and so that becomes a topic with the teacher aides too. So it allows our entire staff to go through that process, and we're really, really excited about how that's worked out this year for sure.
I agree. That carries over into our weekly CAPS meetings too, where administration and counselor, social worker all meet. And we'll go through student by student, but also look at attendance and look at kind of like the counselor's effect on the students. So we get to talk about that weekly. We also have some fun after-school things going on at JK. We've had SOAR for a while now, but I feel like every year it's just enhanced more and more. SOAR is 2 days a week after school. It's really an at-risk population that it's targeted for. And what I love about it is that it's really our teacher aides that are running the SOAR groups. So just this afternoon, I was listening to it's like an edible crafts group run by 2 of our aides, and the kids are making fun things about the eclipse or about the upcoming holidays, and then they get to eat the snacks and learn how to make healthy snacks at home for their families. So it's just a fun after school. But then we also have 21st Century Club, which is new this year, also known as Innovation Club. So this is a new grant that the district got, and we started it at JK to see how it would go. We started last summer with kind of a pilot program, and we went into full swing this year during the school year, similar to SOAR, but a little bit more enrichment based. We've had things like SEL Club, and the students, what's really special about this is the students get to sign up for it. They get to choose which activity they want to do. So we have 2nd, 3rd, and 4th graders who are choosing to go to SEL Club to work on coping strategies. Like, that's what they want to do. Or we have students who are doing the fun and fitness group and learning how to do some kickboxing and healthy eating. There are activities that really it's a full gamut of activities. So it's nice to know that we have students that can stay after school at JK Monday through Thursday between SOAR and Innovation Club and get a bus home at 4:30. It's like true extended year programming, which is amazing.
All right, and I want to just end our presentation. One of the things that we really try, Heather and I really try to be is very, very grateful. And, so I'm grateful for just an excellent staff. Like, we just couldn't do the things that we're doing, and have half the staff not on board with it. And that just isn't our experience, Not all of the ideas come from Heather and I. Like, all the Eclipse work actually came from our special area team, presented to Heather and I, and we were just able to support it. So we're just really, really thankful for that. I'm personally really thankful for the caliber of our assistant principals that we have in the district. So working with Heather has just been wonderful, but working with Omar and Jessica at the high school, I just want to say personally, we have a really high caliber of assistant principals in the district. And lastly, and those of you that have been on the board for a while have heard me say this, but I don't take for granted that I've been really thankful. I've been an administrator for 18 years in Batavia, and have always felt supported by the board. Being around for 18 years, you hear stories about places elsewhere where that might not be the same story. But, I just want to thank you for the good work that you do and the way that you support our schools. So thank you.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah.
congratulations on those slides with the comparison to the other schools. That's unbelievable being first in those categories. But I think, is there still that high demand? I mean, the kids our percentage are high, but there's a still high number of students going to that tier 2 and 3 that we're still working with. We're still working and pushing, right? I mean, our numbers are good, but there's that demand for our reading specialists and,
Yeah.
and everything.
Yeah.
Definitely, and yes, we can definitely say that the tier 2 interventions can be directly related to a lot of the growth that we saw in this course.
Okay. That's awesome. Congratulations again.
Yeah, congratulations. Great job.
Any other questions?
I think that, I agree with both Johns in that these were impressive, New York State data comparisons to the other small city schools, and I think that unfortunately, we don't toot our horns too often, and there are really a lot of people that come to our meetings or are online to listen to presentations, and this is the kind of information that I think the community would be interested in seeing, because that's the questions I get is, well, how are our kids doing in schools? And I have to generalize most of the time and say, oh, well, our graduation rate is such and such. But when it comes to these kinds of specific things, especially, in the younger grades, and especially with the cost of education, knowing that our children our students are advancing, I wouldn't want to list some of these because they're at the bottom, but putting us at the top and saying this is how we got ranked, how we got rated, and other small city schools did less than we did. I think telling the community that you are doing so well as staff and administrators.
Yeah, and I think tooting the horn vertically too is like this kind of stuff directly leads to graduation rate, and so I was really excited that we had a 95% graduation rate from last year, which is also very high for a small city, if you look across the state. So, but it's, the work of a lot of people, and, to John's point, it's having those supports in place. It doesn't happen by accident, that it's using those supports to make sure that those kids that need that support get it.
But I think our community needs to hear those things.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they're all watching tonight, All right. All right, well, thank you, everybody. All right, appreciate it.
Thanks. All right, next up, 2024-2025 budget update, Mr. Lang.
All right, well, thank you. So we'll dive right in here. You've all have seen this budget calendar multiple times, so I won't kind of stick to this slide very long. But we did have a budget work session on March 12th, and today we're just going to continue our budget development and review. This is considered like the third draft of the budget, so we'll go through mainly some of the changes that we've seen so far. Important dates again coming up. May 14th is the presentation of the budget and propositions for the budget hearing, and then the 21st is, of course, the Budget Board of Education and proposition vote. So we'll dive right into revenue. Again, you've seen this several times. The only thing I'm going to kind of star are two of the revenue categories, which is real property tax and appropriated fund balance and reserves. So in the prior drafts of the budget, we did see a gap, and this draft of the budget fills that gap with appropriated fund balance. So right now, everything you're going to see moving forward shows a balanced budget, mostly using appropriated fund balance. So that amount increased by about $1.2 million in total year to year. So we're plugging that hole in revenue using appropriated fund balance in this draft of the budget.
So Andy, just for example purposes, if state aid, say state aid increases by $100,000.
Sure.
What is that going to do to some of the?
On the revenue side of the budget, it would reduce the amount of appropriated fund balance that we would allocate. So any additional state aid we receive from this point on, we would just go ahead and reduce the amount of appropriated fund balance. And then real property taxes is the other item. We did have go over the tax cap, maximum allowable tax cap calculation. The district is able to increase its levy by 2.26%. This draft of the budget does include that the real property tax levy will increase to the cap of 2.26%. That represents just a little over $450,000 increase in the tax levy year to year. Talking a little bit more about appropriated fund balance, just to break it down a little bit further, the two types of fund balance the district uses to offset revenue in the following year is fund balance and reserves. So you can see here the amount of appropriated fund balance and then allocation from reserves and for unemployment and reserve for retirement. So we budget the use of both of those reserves during the budget development process. Below just shows a chart of the district's total appropriated fund balance in previous years. You can note in the 24-25 school year, the district is appropriating almost $3.7 million in fund balance, and that represents 6.12% of the general fund budget. Tonight, you'll also see the district's fund balance and reserve plan, and within that fund balance and reserve plan, and historically what's been in that fund balance and reserve plan is that the district should try and stay within the 1 to 2% of the total appropriated fund balance for each budget year. Now, certainly this is a reaction to the amount of state aid that we're not receiving. So this is that safety net that the district can utilize in order to balance its budget. When we look at on the expenditure side of the budget, the bold here are the things that we've updated since the last budget process or budget meeting. So we went from 3 to 4 positions reduced as a result of attrition. We did have a resignation that the district has been able to not fill for next year. And then the second bullet point down is we went from 7 FTE positions to 8 FTE positions moved out of the general fund into ongoing grants. The district has what's called a SAVE director, which is part of the SOAR grant. So that was initially budgeted in the general fund. We're going to be pulling that out and budget for it. Include that in the special aid fund for next year. And then finally, I know we talked about this a little bit prior. We did look at reducing 3 bus runs. We did take that out of an earlier draft of the budget. After talking with our transportation company and looking at the impact it would have on our transportation program, it would drastically increase the length of time of riding for our students, as well as make buses to the basically capacity, which could impact behavioral issues and things like that. For example, we do have some runs that are upwards of 90 minutes, and it would add time to that. So that would be a long time for especially some of our elementary students to be on buses. The other thing we could look at potentially, as we mentioned, as Mrs. McCarthy and Mr. Kessler mentioned, we do have late runs that have our SOAR students on them as well. Those were added recently in previous years. We can look at those, but again, if those programs are running, those students do need transportation home in the afternoon.
So just as an aside, Andy and I met on this several times, and one of the pieces that our transportation company has said to us that they have said it has been a better year as far as discipline issues on the bus. Not that we haven't had any, we have, but with fewer kids on the bus, that obviously leads to less issues. So that's been a positive as well. So I would not recommend. It was a good idea at the time, Alston. I appreciated your suggestion, but looking at the amount of time, as it stands now, we still get complaints for kids on the bus, from which I understand. But this will even make it more. So I think it's a wise thing to put back in, because it does show a balanced budget.
So one other thing that we looked at very closely between drafts of budget is the New York State Office of Mental Health grant. So back in August of 2022, the district was awarded a Office of Mental Health grant in the total amount of just over $1.4 million. These funds were to be used to support student mental health and a multi-tiered system of support services for students. The funding period for this grant was from 7/1/22 through 6/30/2027. So we do have approximately 3 years left on this grant. This will be used. This grant was initially used and will be used to fund 5 FTE positions effective 7/1/2024. So, Dr. Corey, is this something that you want to talk about as far as what these positions are going to be used for?
We didn't actually get the money and know that we were going to have this grant on 7/1/2022. But the funds technically started then. And what this grant allows is that you're allowed to carry over across all of the years. So even though we didn't spend the money, all of the money in 2022 and in 2023, we still have access to that money, which is allowing us to increase the number of positions that we have. Where we talked with the officers of the grant in Albany about changing the direction of how we do things a little bit, just given a couple of things that have happened, and that will allow us to have more positions for at least next year.
So if you recall, the board asked us to go back and look at grant funds again. We have done that, and we're pleased to say we're able to, look at a couple of new positions for next year that, in layman's terms, might save some jobs, but also while I was working very closely with the principals of all 4 schools to identify needs, really the purpose of that grant is to expand our services. So, one option certainly, which I'm not recommending, is to use that grant to offset the general fund, which will lower the budget. But the goal of the grant is to enhance services to kids. And so that's exactly what we're going to do. And as a byproduct of that, a couple slides ago, you saw some of those, reductions, some of those, names associated with those possibly could be looking at a different type of work here. This also speaks to our instructional coaches as well. Now, what the board needs to understand is that these are grant funded. So I've asked Andy, and I think John pointed this out last time, if we can find ways to phase these in over time so we're not stuck holding the bag, so to speak, like we were this year. So we're going to, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm saying we're going to try to find ways to make that happen. That makes sense what I just said?
Yep,
Chief?
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, so we've only expensed about $286,000 to date, which leaves a net of a little over $1.1 million, which will be used to fund the initiatives that Superintendent Smith just spoke about. So again, this is just you've seen this chart multiple times throughout the budget process. Again, the reduction in instruction is a result of some of those positions that we spoke about being reduced. Transportation, we can see the year-to-year increase. Again, we've talked again at length about the reason behind that and the rebidding of our transportation contracts for this year. This is an interesting chart. Again, you've seen this a couple times. This shows the changes between the initial draft of the budget that we presented to you back in February and the current draft of the budget, which we're talking about right now. So to date, we have cut about almost close to $1.6, $1.7 million out of the budget, just by looking at all the services we're providing, looking at the equipment, all the things that we spoke about in the previous slide. Again, this is just a little bit more about the general support side of the budget. It includes all those categories of the budget which we've talked about before. Instruction, the lion's share portion of the district's budget, as it should, as education, we are putting towards instruction. And again, the reduction is as a result of those positions that we have spoken about in previous slides. A little bit more district transportation, and again, employee benefits. Obviously, benefits mainly driven by salaries and staffing. Then finally, debt service and interfund transfer. No changes to that since the last draft. So overall, we're presenting right now a balanced budget. And again, in total, we're projecting an increase in expenditures of 2.38%, or a little over $1.4 million. And then we're showing an increase in revenue, mainly as a result of appropriated fund balance and real property taxes in the amount of a little over $1.4 million as well. So this draft is presenting as a balanced budget, but again, utilizing the increase in the tax levy as well as additional appropriated fund balance to balance the budget. So any questions?
So that effect of the increase in the real estate property tax is 39 cents per $1,000 assessed value?
39? Yeah, correct. 39 cents per thousand. So it would, it would equate to $39 for a $100,000 house. Yeah. Again, those are assuming that there are no changes to assessments and equalization rates. So that's certainly subject to the final tax roll. Yeah.
Number 6. 7. Is it 7? Maybe 7. Yeah, that one.
This one, okay.
So, how many positions are being reduced for retirement?
So there are 3 positions being reduced for retirement
Okay.
and 1 position being reduced as a result of a resignation and not filling.
So if I'm looking at this, you got 7 grant-funded positions,
Correct.
5 positions reduced by enrollment, that's 12. 4 reduced by attrition, that's 16. And 8 positions moved out of the general fund and into an ongoing grant. So there's total 16 positions that are being eliminated?
Through attrition or as a result of enrollment or the reduction of the grant-funded positions, correct.
And then I can jump to the next slide, the MTSS one. He's showing 5 back in.
Okay. So 11 total now, right?
16 and 5, yep. Minus 5. That's correct. So, and just one thing to note, as we've talked about before, those grant-funded positions, the seven grant-funded positions, those were those year-to-year positions that were appointed annually.
I know we asked a little bit last meeting, how reducing those positions are going to affect the class sizes.
That's a great question. Dr. Core, do you want to jump in for the class size discussion?
Sure, I'll try. So we've been using some tools to help guide us with what we expect for class sizes across the district. And honestly, in using the tools, we learned a lot. We looked carefully at all schools, and it's kind of easy in elementary schools to see how many are in a class and what does that mean. It's not as easy when you move up into the middle school and the high school. And honestly, the budget process it's tricky because we're doing it now and they're really making their schedules and finalizing it after the budget. So sometimes we didn't catch, class sizes of things until much later, and so we're just adhering to the tools that we want the principals to really carefully watch, and I think that we'll get better and stronger moving forward. What I can show you is that we're really not making super large class sizes anywhere. Like the state says you can have up to 28 in every classroom. We're not even close to 28 in the elementaries. And the cases where they're at 28 in other places, it's classes you would expect them to be larger classes. The skill set of the teacher is the #1 tool that makes a difference. We're going to continue to invest in our teachers and make sure they have the resources that they need. And I think that we have reasonable class sizes for what we're doing.
We did a comparison from last year to this year, and it's not significant. We have we can add it as a slide, possibly. I did show it to the board leadership last week, but the increase is minor. I'm not downplaying.
What do you mean by minor? So what are we at now and what are we
Two or
looking at in
three
the
more,
future?
2 or 3 more possibly per class at some grades, not every grade.
So
So we're not maxing out, we're
the
not at
range
26,
starts at
28.
18.
No.
Okay.
At Jackson, like, New York State says that the UPK classes, they
We're not
started
maxing
with
out
an
28.
18 ratio. So Jackson, we have from 18 to 21, they're all within that. John Kennedy, we say, I think it's 20 to 24, they're all within that. Middle school, we start at 24 to 28, and they're really on the lower end, some are below 24. You know, we're really carefully looking at all of the numbers. These are some graphs that I created to show kind of where we were at. It shows the range, and it shows the number of classes, and the X's are the classes from this year, and then there's a second one that has anticipated for next year. If you compare both, what you can see is all of the really small classes, they weren't at the schools that you would have expected them to be at. So what we're doing is just really pushing it down so that they're really within where they should be.
We're really trying to be conscientious of the class sizes at all levels, but especially at lower, at
Right.
JK and Jackson for obvious reasons.
Well, I was on the board years and years ago when it was brought up during the budget session that one of the things that the board wanted to see was classes under 20. And for all this length of time, I think the school district's done very well keeping their classroom sizes under 20, especially in the primary and intermediate schools. And obviously, the district was able to do that because of the funds. Now here we are. And increasing these school classrooms by 2 or 3 students, yeah, would I love it to always be under 20? Absolutely, because I know how successful kids can be and teachers. But if we have to add these 2 or 3, you know, to keep our budget reasonable, then we have to
And we're
do that.
still well within below our contractual
Yes,
limits.
absolutely,
I'm not suggesting we even go that high,
Right.
even, because 28 first graders in a classroom is not going to work for anybody, right? So we're not even close to that at our younger grades, even at John Kennedy. So the chart that Chris is looking at now shows that.
Mhm. I just know it was a goal of a board. It was never written, but it was just always understood from year to year to year that we had tried to keep classes under 20, but here we are.
We're also looking again at aid support as well, and
Mhm.
looking at the reallocation of aids at some of those younger grades as well. Molly's working on that with Maureen as well, so we're looking at that too.
Now, as you go through this budget process yourselves as administrators, because it appears that all the budget sessions that I've been through, every administrator, superintendent has a different way of approaching how they go through the budget. I would assume you went line by line through all of everything, services, vendors, all of that.
Yes, and doing that as we speak. There's more I'll be able to share later, but yes, I have done that. We looked at field trips, we looked at transportation, we looked at supplies, equipment, we made some reductions there. We looked at all those pieces. We looked at school supplies for students, looked at the grants. We went back and, as Jennifer pointed out, we went back and worked hard on that MTSS grant to use the funds the way it's supposed to be used. So.
And you had mentioned the aid support. How's that playing into our budget here?
So there's no aids being reduced, first of all, and Molly and Maureen are working together on the aids at Jackson specifically. We did receive some feedback on that. Molly's working with Maureen. You want to add any more details to that, Molly?
She's just trying to maximize support, especially for kindergarten, especially at the beginning of the year, as they first come in to be learning to be students, and she's sure she's got a plan that she can differentiate through the year.
Okay.
So there's no aids being reduced, and we're looking at reallocating them.
I guess that was my question about reallocating.
So that's happening.
We talked a little bit about some grade levels having full-time
Yep.
aides versus some of our lower ones. I know right now we have aides going between the Robert Morris and Jackson building. One day they'll be there, one day they'll be here, or between staff calling in, we have to move them.
Yeah, that's not where they're placed on a regular basis. That's only because of the issue with the substitute shortage.
Okay. I guess that's looking, and I know I've stressed a lot about this reduction in staffing. We're already short on subs. We're struggling to get the aides into to support the staff that we have already, and now we're going to reduce the number of staff that we have. I guess it's just a big concern of mine. The rest of the board feels.
I just unfortunately think we're at that point.
With our enrollment being down and
And yet, on the other side, we're praising how well JK is doing with what we're doing now. And all we're doing is adding to the stress of the teachers.
Right.
And the people.
So the MTSS grant is going to bring some of those needs back. Those are looking at our instructional coaches, our social emotional learning supports. Those pieces are being addressed through that MTSS grant.
And you also mentioned that the SOAR and whatever the other program was called, the 21.
21st one.
Yeah, 21st. That there's bus runs that accommodate some of those students that do those after-school projects. But it isn't, it's not all the students that need that transportation.
That's correct. There's only a few runs for each of those buildings.
And do they have to be full buses? I mean, I know they're full. I walk by them when I pick up my granddaughter from those SOAR things. And do they have to be full buses? I mean, they're not full buses. There are a few children on each one. I mean,
Yes.
can it be a small bus? I don't know if the cost is any less.
Yeah, that's a good point. So STA does provide 72 passenger buses.
Mhm.
So those are the only buses that they provide.
Mhm.
But regardless, I think what happens is participation in that program fluctuates. So
Mhm.
sometimes we have more students in stay active activities,
Mhm.
sometimes we have less.
Mhm.
So we did initially request buses based on participation in that
Mhm.
program.
Mhm.
We can certainly look at that again.
So the indication is that if busing wasn't offered, that there would be possible reduction in the students that actually participate in those programs?
I would imagine if there's not a vehicle or a way for those students to go home after school, they probably wouldn't stay after for those programs.
Okay.
Allison, go ahead, Molly.
The grant pays for those buses. Both grants have busing built into it, and
Yep.
it's certainly helps with the cost.
Okay. I know I seem to be on transportation all the time, but it's, such a large cost for the district.
Dr. Corey, you said that there were some classes that we had over 28 students in other classes.
Not over, but
But they'd be at that.
I think some of the PE
I was gonna
classes
say,
in the
are
high
those
school.
the PE class? I just wanted to clarify that.
Probably
those
our
were-
largest department at the high school is history. They've had, they've kind of been more in line with staffing, and some of their classes have close to 28, 26 or 27. But it's manageable. We great teachers who they do great things with them. When I first started here, they didn't have two full teams in 7 and 8 at the middle school because there had been a tougher budget year before I came, and we went back to full teams when we had larger classes. Well, we're going through quite a small dip right now where it just doesn't warrant having two full teams. We didn't eliminate all of the team members. I mean, we kept ELA and math because of the high stakes testing. They'll be able to support in other ways. And they can actually be the service providers for AIS, which is probably the best model that you would want to give kids more time with the teachers that know them the most. And I think that these conversations are new. We haven't had to have them in a long time. But I promise you, we're really attending to how many kids are in classes. We're carefully looking at which ones are close to bubble years. At some point, I can show you some of the tools that we use, and we can make better informed decisions around that. None of these decisions are easy, but some of them, I think we can, you know, when it comes to choosing this or that, you know, we want to have the strongest program possible, just utilizing the resources in the best possible way.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
So with the chance of getting more state aid, how can that affect these teaching positions?
Well, that's really a good question, and it really depends on what the board's direction is as to if we end up getting additional state aid, does that mean not reducing any of the reductions that we had listed, or does it mean reducing the amount of appropriated fund balance that the district's using to balance the budget, looking at the tax levy? So those are kind of the differences if additional state aid comes.
So, yeah, so you basically have three levers to pull as a board. The first lever you can pull is to, if, say we get $100,000 more, that's a teaching position. The second lever to pull is to reduce what we're going to pull from our savings account. The third lever to pull is to lower the taxes to like 2.5% or 2.2%.
Well, 2% or 1.5%,
less than what it is now. Your fourth combination is to do any combination thereof. If we have an on-time budget, we should be able to give you more of that information at the next board meeting before you adopt. So if you want to give us some of your senses on that now, in terms of, I mean, you estimated, best case, you said like 3% more, right?
Yeah, I think somewhere around between $290,000 and $300,000 would be best case scenario at this point from the information that we're looking at. I showed some of the analysis at the last work session where we looked at the tool that ESBO used to kind of project this, the worst case, kind of best case scenario. So if you kind of recall, the best case scenario was right around $290,000, $300,000 increase in foundation aid.
So we'll have to keep monitoring that, and I'd like to hear what the board thinks about that. You know, that really is something we could get some feedback on. If additionally, first of all, is there any interest in lowering the taxes? I guess is the first question that we want to ask. The second question, is there any interest in looking at some of these teaching positions again? And the third question I would ask, is there any interest in looking at the reserves and lowering that? So, or any of those could work possibly as well. But this is where you might want to give us some feedback.
Well, I guess you would probably know my opinion is to
Yes.
try to save some of these positions, more of these positions, whether it's to refill someone that retired, to refill, one of these grant-funded positions that were there before, but it's just a hard pill to swallow, I guess, to see the number drop down that low. So my ask would be is if we get that additional aid would be to see what type of positions we can save back into there.
Okay.
I'm with John.
What's that, Jen, what you
I'm with
said?
John. I
You
agree.
agree with
My
Jeff,
first choice
okay.
is looking at
So-
the teachers, and I'm not as worried. No.
I'm not going to give you false hope, but, we have a NISBA rep here tonight, and I know they've been lobbying hard for that, but there has been intense lobbying efforts, where the House, the Senate and the Assembly have passed a one-house budget that does account for the inflationary increase that Hochul dropped. It does restore Save Harmless, which Governor Hochul has dropped. Obviously, there's more negotiations to happen, just as we're doing here in this session. It's the same concept there. So, not to put you on the spot, sir, but I know any insight you want to add to us? By the way, this is David Lauer. He's a rep from NISBA, so welcome, Dave.
Thank you. From what we heard, the Assembly and Senate are just not very happy with the way the governor approached this. She wants to take all the extra money and put it in her reserves, and is not real happy with the way she allocated this year's budget. So we're hoping that with the collaboration of not only NISBA, but NYSID and all the other organizations, ASBO, and that they're going to keep pushing through. So the message is just keep calling your legislators and letting them know all the way right up through. I'm also the executive director for Erie County Association of School Boards, and we do a lot of legislation activities with our locals in the Western New York area. And we've done so much where they are now many times when they have a bill that crosses their desk and go, and they'll ask us, how is this going to impact your districts, right? And they're reaching back out to us, so we're very proud of that. So I'm hoping to build that a little bit wider within the Area 1 area as well.
So it seems to me we have some direction. If additional state aid comes in, look at some of these teaching positions again, I appreciate that. We can keep that in mind as we monitor it.
I would like to say, my opinion is that that we split. Part of the money should go back into the fund
Reserves.
balance and put some teacher or teachers back. But, not use all of that fund. I think we need to have a safety net in our fund balance too. And we're taking a huge amount from them, from that balance this year.
So with that fund balance though, that's worst case scenario, that money is not used, correct? That stays.
Well,
If I'm,
yeah, so let's say we even have an increase of foundation aid by $200,000. So we're reducing potentially only the amount of fund balance by, from $3.7 million to $3.5 million. That's still, in my opinion, as a school business official, that's still an exceedingly high number of appropriated fund balance the district is using to balance the budget. And as I'd cautioned you before, I would be cautious as to continually appropriating that amount of fund balance and relying on it to balance the district's budget.
Would that get us under that 1% to 2% that you talked about?
No. You would have to go back to,
It'd have to be all-
amounts of considerably less than that.
but out of that fund balance of the what's the original side, was that 1.2 million was the change?
Yes.
So I guess my question was if that wasn't needed, that you're looking at the most, if it's not used, it's still there, right?
Well, yeah, if that's the worst case scenario, if we have to actually use that fund balance to balance the budget. So when we close next year's budget, we'll look at total
But
revenues and
typically,
total
don't
expenses.
we haven't used all the money that we've allocated out of there?
Yeah, typically the revenue sides of the budget have been conservative enough, and as well as the expenditure sides of the budget, so that we're not putting ourselves in a definite scenario of exceeding our revenues and expenses. But as these budgets get tighter, and as that risk of that is exceedingly greater. It's just important to consider in that decision.
So for the April meeting, can you guys put together options of Alice's suggestions of taking, and again, this is that.
If it comes on time.
On time, give us those options of saying we allocate some here. Option one would be, John, Jen, you want to put all that money back into teacher money, this is what we can do. Alice, option B, showing different options with it.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely, we can put together some
And
scenarios.
hopefully we'll have numbers by then. If not, we can always go with. So here's the other thing too, and Andy may correct me on this, and feel free to correct me in public session if you want. But we can say the state aid the budget doesn't come into May 15th, right? And we go with this plan is here, right? That just because the board adopts the budget on April 22nd,
Yes.
Are you seeing my line of thinking on this?
Yeah, so that,
Go ahead, finish my thought.
So the next step for the budget during this process is that the board has to adopt the total general fund amount. So that's a dollar amount. So that's what the budget is, that's what the board would be adopting on the 22nd. You're not really adopting how much fund balance we're appropriating or how much state aid we're estimating. You're adopting that total expenditure number that we cannot exceed in the 2024-25 school year. So I think that's the part that we really need to focus on is the total expenditure side of the budget for next year. So this, as I presented to you today and in previous sessions, is comprehensive of what staffing level and all the other anticipated expenses that we can foresee for next year. So that's kind of really what we need to focus on is the expenditure side, although it is understood that that impacts the amount of appropriated fund balance and state aid all comes into that. But, so if you're thinking about doing a best case scenario of having additional state aid, maybe we should include that salary in the budget, and maybe we should appropriate additional fund balance.
And then if the state aid comes in, we can just
Adjust the amount of
adjust the
appropriated
fund balance later on. So that's what I was trying to, the point I was trying to make.
But again, at that point, the whole budget process is kind of just moving along, and we have that final number. That's the really important piece of it.
So going back to, again, these positions, is there a way for the board, and I guess it doesn't need to be names that attached, but I guess the areas that needs teachers are, these positions are being reduced, not replaced, eliminated, however you want to word it, so we can kind of see what positions that we're eliminating. Is it elementary? Is it middle school? Is it high school? Is it social studies? Is it science? Just so we can kind of have an idea of where we're looking at, because we're looking at numbers. In JK's report, we're talking about math and ELA. You know, those numbers are leading in the small city schools. Are we cutting those teachers? You know, positions that are in those categories that, you know, we go from ranked first down to, you know, fifth now, because as a board, we made a decision to eliminate positions that benefit our district. So I'd kind of like to see, again, not names attached, but I guess positions of those.
Yep.
We can get that information, absolutely.
We can get that to you at the next board meeting, or we'll send it to you. We can also send you some of those scenarios to give you time to think them through, and then we can talk about them at the April board meeting. The board does have to adopt in April, but we can, to the question that I kind of set Andy up for, we could adjust the expenditures in the anticipation of state aid, but hopefully we'll have something soon on the budget before April 22nd.
Okay.
So, is that helpful? I appreciate the feedback.
And I appreciate the time that you guys put into make these changes. It's a big difference from last
And it really has been,
workshop to here. So
I want to recognize Trish and Molly. They worked hard on that too, looking at grants and positions. So it's been a good team effort, and certainly having the feedback from you, having direction is helpful. The worst thing you can do is not give us direction. Okay, thanks, Andy.
All right.
If you're done.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, before I go to next man up, I just have one thing I wanted to say before we move on. Tech Wars were Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. And both our high school and our middle school took first place in Tech Wars.
Correct.
And that is something to be very, very proud of in our district. I'm not sure exactly how many schools we have. I'm not sure if every school in.
It was our BOCES.
So that's just phenomenal. And I saw pictures of some of the things that the kids did. They had hardboard that they made boats out of, and the robot wars that they were having. And God, I wish I would have been at the building and cool with all that stuff. But that's awesome. So congratulations to them.
The bridge competition, they maxed out the weight. It was 400
I
pounds
saw
on the
that.
bridge, and it didn't break.
That's.
I don't know that that's ever happened. It was phenomenal. They were just so proud.
Yeah,
We
that's.
also had huge success with our 5th and 6th grade peach turners as well. They did very well. It's a reading competition.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations to them as well. Now next up,
So, yeah, I'm going
Mr. Smith.
John stole some of my thunder, but that's okay. I want to recognize, I had the Tech Wars on there as well. I want to just congratulate Chris Cummings, Frank Penapento, and Charlie Voorhees for the work they've done with our students. I was not able to attend that event, but Dr. Corey was there with Miss West was there, and we saw the celebration. I do want to recognize Matthew Doringer, who won the scholarship at Tech Wars. At Tech Wars, his picture was in the paper and on our Facebook page, so it really was an exciting day. Our tech teachers were especially enthused, and we're proud of what they've done. Last Friday, I had the privilege, along with a few of us here, to attend the art show at the library. Some of our work is on display here. We recognize a number of recipients for the outstanding job. The work is still on display through the end of the month, so I want to recognize our students and our art teachers on that. John mentioned Footloose. It really was a great show. I was able to see it Saturday night. Peyton did a fine job in it as the minister. Nice job, Peyton.
Thank you.
Our BND hockey team made it to the state Final Four. I want to recognize Coach Staley, Coach Kirkwood, and their staff and our kids for their work. Music festivals have been ongoing with all-county festivals have been happening all month. Solo festivals have been happening. Last week, I was in this, no, it was 2 weeks ago. No, I was in this room 2 weeks ago. Last week, I was 100 days to graduation. We had a nice event. Our parent group sponsored that. We gave out some nice prizes from the parent group, and it was a fun atmosphere in the cafeteria. You've heard lots of comments tonight about the solar eclipse happening. We have secured glasses for our students from the county, and we're going to be distributing those. They were already passed out. We have some extras that we're going to make available in the offices. We're finally having some nice spring weather, so spring sports are happening. And I want to recognize our something very close to my heart as a teacher. Our close-up trip happened last week to Washington, D.C. I used to lead that trip when I was a teacher. I want to recognize Alex Valitz and Matt McCracken for taking. We took about 10 kids on that trip. It's a fantastic trip, civic education at its finest. I usually have lunch with those students to hear about the fantastic experience they have, but it really is a great experience, and I'm really proud of that group as well. So that's all I have, John. Thank you.
All right. Next up, student ex officio's report. Peyton Woolard.
So start off with, we had Footloose at the start of this month, and honestly, I think that was the best show I've ever been in. I've been in 19 shows already, and easily I could say that this was my favorite. We had such a talented cast and crew, and it was just such a blessing to get to work with them. And I'm so excited. We do an event called Stars of Tomorrow. It's through RBTL, and I think it's May 10th. We're going to get to go showcase our talent in front of, I think, 45 different schools in our area. I'm just so excited for that.
Oh, you just like to dance, right, Peyton?
Yeah. It's just such a fun atmosphere, and getting to see all of these other school districts putting on their snippets from their shows. It's just such a communal feeling, and it's just amazing. I'm truly so grateful that we have this opportunity. And
What scene are you performing?
we have not decided that.
Okay.
We're between a few of our bigger scenes, but we haven't officially decided which one we're sticking to yet. But no matter what, I know our cast is gonna just have so much fun. It's such a surreal feeling performing on the RBTL stage with thousands of people in the crowd just watching, and it's such an amazing experience. I'm so excited for it. Moving on, we have spring sports getting started. Unfortunately, the bad weather caused some games to get canceled, like I know the lacrosse game got canceled. But it's getting better outside, and I'm hoping it stays better outside. So hopefully our athletes can do the amazing things they always do. Our mock trial team ended up making it to the quarterfinals this year, securing the 3rd seed behind 2 undefeated teams this year, which once again, probably the best time I've had with these teams before. This is probably the best our team has felt in a long time, and it was truly just an amazing experience. I also got to participate in one of those all-counties that Mr. Smith mentioned. We had our all-county festival for specifically chorale this past Saturday, and it was great to get to participate with a bunch of other schools in our area. With just 2 days of rehearsal, 2 days of rehearsal, it was amazing the performance we were able to put on. And then finally, one of our biggest events is coming up soon, Mr. Batavia, on April 12th at 7 p.m. We're lucky enough to have 13 contestants this year, including myself, Brock Warren, Ryan Cox, Patrick Swazi, Elijah Abdella, Orion Lama, Eli Michaelak, Emmanuel Richardson, Owen Halpin, Brian Calderon, Harry Southpaw, Paris Price, and finally Ryan Platt. We've been practicing for a few weeks now, and I just hope that all of you have the chance to come out and see the show. It is going to be amazing. So many people have already been putting so much work into this, and I truly think it's going to be the best one yet. And I am biased.
That's because you're just in it, Peyton, you're staying there, right?
Yeah, I am a little biased, but I truly hope all of you get to come out and join us.
All good?
Yep.
All right. At this time, I need a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Ms. Bowman, could I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Ledby?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Call to the executive session is for matters relating to medical, financial credit, or employment history, or particular person or corporation, or matters leading to the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person or corporation. We will be returning to public session.
I know. Here.
It's just, I don't just say, I have a question for him.
All right, is this set for you all, Mr. President? Yeah, I'm good, yeah, we just gotta go through consent.
Okay. Need a motion to approve the grouping of consent items. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Mr. Rego, can I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Benedict?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I'm gonna have to fix this every time for Barb, so hold on a moment. Okay.
Very small change.
Okay, next up is old business. We're looking at the school calendar.
So just a minor update that we had neglected to include, it's not a significant change at all on the calendar, but at the end of the year in June, there's a couple of half-days per contract we're obligated to have for the BTA, so those were inadvertently left off. Both the district and the BTA have since corrected that, so this is simply a minor update. All the holidays and days off, and that's all the same. We have to have the board approve the that minor update. Molly, did I miss anything on that? That's about it, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So that's all that is, John.
Okay. All right. Could I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Ms. Lindsay, can I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Anderson?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
All right, new business, approval of annual district election voter registration and appointment of election inspectors. Any questions? Can I have a motion?
So moved.
We'll give Mr. Rego the first, Ms. Benedict the second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Okay, need approval of the notice of public hearing, budget vote, and election. Can I have a motion? Or is there any questions? I'm sorry. No? Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Ms. Lindsay, a second?
Second.
Ms. Anderson?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Approval of the contract and resolution for construction management services with Campus Constructions Management Group Incorporated for the 2023 Capital Improvement Project BCSD Reimagined. Any questions? All right, can I have a motion? So moved. Mr. Reed. Second?
Second.
Ms. Bennett?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Restated municipal cooperative agreement and resolution to provide health benefits, Genesee Area Health Care Plan, effective 7/1/24. Any questions? No? Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Ms. Benedict, a second?
Second.
Mr. Rego?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Request for formation of a student charter club, Close Up BC. Any questions?
So this will just legitimize the group as a true extracurricular activity. It has been, it has an authorized group before on Schedule C. This will now give them the ability to raise funds on their own and have it housed in their own fund, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Student account is the word.
Any questions? All right, can I have a motion?
So moved.
Ms. Anderson, can I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Lindsay?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Approve the 2023-24 BCSD fund balance and reserve plan updated March 2024. Any questions? All right, can I have a motion?
So moved.
Ms. Benedict, a second?
Second.
Mr. Rego?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
All right, memo and resolution for April 8th, 2024. Approve of the resolution to close BCSD schools on April 8th, 2024 as a measure of safety and preparedness for the total solar eclipse.
So school is closed already for our students and teachers. I'm recommending, after talking to Matt Landers, that we do a total shutdown to make sure our staff are safe during the eclipse and we have less cars on the road. So it simply would be a holiday for 12-month staff at this point, and that's in recommendation with the county, they issued something out this afternoon, so I think that's the best thing. Given the number of 12-month employees we have, I wouldn't want anything to happen. We'll make sure they're in a safe spot for that. So that would be a change to the paid holiday.
Any questions? Okay, can I have a motion?
So moved.
Ms. Lemon, can I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Bennett?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you for that.
Discussions and other reports, the administrative reports for curriculum operations business are all online, so please take a look at those.
You don't need executive.
We don't need their clip. Any board members have anything they, okay. I think we're done. We're good?
Yeah.
All right, hey, everybody drive home safe.
I need a motion to
Oh,
adjourn.
we need a motion. Oh, okay, I need a motion. So
Sorry.
I have a motion to close our meeting. So moved. Mr. Eagle, second.
Second.
Ms. Bennett?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No, I will need you to wait. Yeah, I have the resolution, I have to sign.
Motion.